I want to do something different. And law, I felt like would provide me with more opportunities to be me. And it has.
All right, so welcome to the You Are a Lawyer podcast. Rhonda Coleman, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much, Kyla, for having me. It's going to be kind of fun being on the other side of the microphone today.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are a podcaster, right? So you said other side of the microphone. Let's jump right into that. What is the name of your podcast and why did you create it?
Yes, the name of my podcast is Rhonda Coleman Wandel Podcast. Haha. And I started it almost 4 years ago. I've been saying 3 years ago for so long, but it's almost 4 years ago because I wanted to create a space for women to come and talk about their unique career paths and trajectories. I wanted to celebrate the uniqueness of it and validate for other women like, look, you can walk your own path. You don't have to do whatever the status quo says you should do. And I used my own story kind of as an example, and I've talked to some amazing women over the years. So it continues to grow.
Yeah. Okay, so you got to give me more detail. You used your own story. What was the story? What's the career path?
Yeah, so okay, so I'm a lawyer currently, obviously, I'm on the show, but I've not always been a lawyer. I decided to pivot from a career in education. I was a teacher, a high school English teacher for 10 years. I went to college, graduated high school in 96, graduated college 2000, went straight into teaching, taught for 10 years. And then I decided this is not getting it for me anymore. I want to do something different. And law, I felt like would provide me with more opportunities to be me. And it has, it has. So I moved to Chicago, newly divorced with a first and third grade daughter to go to law school and start over in my career. And it's been very rewarding. It was a good move for me.
Yes, I did not know that about you. That's amazing. With a child in the first grade and third grade. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
huge transition for them as well,
Yes.
moving. Yeah, okay. So, high school teacher, what were you seeing that made you realize you could have a bigger impact or do a little bit more if you became a lawyer?
Yeah. So the good thing about the teacher schedule is you get the summers off. And I think that's probably what attracted me to the profession coming out of college. It's like I still got to get my summer break and my holiday break. But that downtime allowed me to explore passions and interests. And I was an entrepreneur and would start businesses. I know one business I created was called the Magic Giraffe. Everybody who's a mom with little kids, if you were an entrepreneur, you're going to create something related to your kids. So I had this brilliant idea to take a children's book and then bring it to life with accessories. And that was fun. I did some trade shows and I got a business consultant, and I quickly realized I don't know jack about building a business. I'm a teacher. I work in education. I teach English and language arts to high school kids all day. And that when I stopped being fulfilled as a teacher because I wasn't pouring into me, I wasn't learning more about the things that I wanted to know more about. And at the same time, an entrepreneur, I didn't know much about building a business. Law felt like a good transition career for me, or a good career to switch into. Gave me more options. I kind of knew that I wanted to work in a corporation versus a firm lawyer, but we might get into that in a minute.
Okay, so let's jump to today. Are you enjoying being a lawyer? Was it a good decision?
It was a wonderful decision. I love being a lawyer. I loved law school, and a lot of people don't say that, but I was like 31. It was this completely new world, new city, because I'm from Memphis, I'm in Chicago, and everything was just new, and I was learning, growing, expanding. And although law school is challenging, the challenge didn't feel bad to me. It felt liberating. And being a lawyer has been the same thing, the work of it anyway. Now, the politics and the sponsorships and mentors and career direction and charting your path, that's been a challenge that I've had to kind of figure out how to navigate. But the actual work of being a commercial transactional attorney, I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Great. 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 So we had to make sure we covered that part because I don't want people to be listening the whole time and they're like, "Does she hate it? Does she love it? What happened?" Okay. Cool. So you and I did kind of the reverse, right? You left the South in Memphis to move to Chicago for law school, and I left Ohio to move to Louisiana for law school.
Okay.
Blew my mind. I no one had
I
ever called me a
bet.
Yankee because I was in Ohio, so no one would, but I was completely different. You could spot me a mile away. People were like, "Who's that? Where are you from?" And I was like, "I'm just me." Did
Hmm.
you experience any of that or missing home when you first moved to Chicago?
Yeah, so interestingly, coming from the South, you would think that, oh my God, I'm coming to the North. It's going to be more inclusive and diverse, and versus the South, which is known to be, very black and white. But Chicago is a very segregated city. Yes, there are a lot of races and nationalities, but everybody lives separately. And that was different for me because even though in Memphis, pretty much just two races, black and white, obviously Asian and Hispanic over the years, Memphis has grown. But you live separately, but you work together, sometimes you go to school together, and you've you've learned how to work together and be together. But in Chicago, it was different. So I had to figure that out. Once I lived in Lincoln Park too, one of the most homogenous neighborhoods in the city, mostly white. And we were in a Home Depot. And my daughter is in first grade, and she's coming from Memphis, and her school was predominantly black. And she says, Mom, where are the black people? I mean, but when she went out to a store, like she would see black and white people like mixed, but it was nothing but white people in this neighborhood, restaurants everywhere. And she's like, where are the black people? Basically, where are the people who look like me? And people would stare at us as if like, what are you doing in this neighborhood? Or how can you afford to live in this zip code? So, but, having grown up in the South with racism and all of that, it didn't bother me so much. It was not a big deal. I was on a mission. I was in law school and we did our thing with parks, museums. Her school was great, the community there. Yeah, so we were good.
Yeah, good, good, good. Okay, cool. So you are a commercial in-house lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that mean? I know there are a lot of law students that listen to this, and then there are a lot of new lawyers, like 5 years or less, that are practicing.
Mm-hmm.
So, would you explain to them what a commercial in-house lawyer is?
Yes, and it's so funny you ask that because I haven't even in my third, fourth, fifth year practicing law didn't necessarily label myself as such. So something I've learned, but because I started out in contracts, I thought I was a contract lawyer, except as a contract lawyer, you're negotiating contracts. Either you're selling something the business is selling, and you're negotiating the sale of that product or service, or you're procuring goods and services for the business that you're working for. So any transaction that is necessary for the company to run as a business on either side, buy or sell, constitutes a commercial transaction. So supporting a commercial transaction, either via negotiating the contractual terms or advising the business on the risks associated with entering into this transaction, would be classified as a commercial, like things within the realm of being a commercial transactional attorney.
Yeah.
So I do all of that.
Okay. So I am kind of familiar with that. In Ohio, we call that a contract administrator. But I
Okay.
think that's probably just a portion of commercial law. Do you do like mergers and acquisitions, or is it you can consult on all spectrum?
So, mergers and acquisitions, that would be an M&A lawyer. An M&A lawyer who is actually actively negotiating either the acquisition or the sale of a deal and the contracts that memorialize that exchange. What I would do as a commercial lawyer would be potentially, like, say now I work for Google. Let's say Google acquires company X and we're pulling them into the fold. And we need to kind of educate the new acquired company's leadership on how Google contracts, right? So this is our, master services agreement versus the ones you're accustomed to. And then the existing MSAs of that company, depending on the nature of the acquisition, maybe we are moving, new customers over to our paper, but still kind of acknowledging the old paper. You're still involved, but anything kind of connected to contracts or commercial matters.
Okay. It's making sense. In my head, I'm picturing Google buying YouTube and all of their existing stuff with Google's existing stuff, and you have to merge it and you have to make sense of it and what's redundant, what do you keep, what don't you need, and all of it. So,
Yeah, sometimes it's like that. Sometimes if the acquired company, and I'm not an M&A lawyer, so M&A lawyers out there, like, don't get me. But I think there's some situations where like a YouTube would function independently of Google, but still leverage some of the resources of Google. So they would have their own contractual like documents. I don't think that's the case for YouTube, but yeah, yeah.
so you mentioned Google and you do work for Google, which is pretty cool. Are your daughters like, Mom works for a tech company? Like, does it give you any cool points?
I think so. I think they're quite proud of it. And I'm in it, I'm there and it's all about the work for me. I I don't care a whole lot about the cachet. My coaches have to remind me, no, this is good, this is a big deal. Like people in my network know it's a big deal, but for me, it's just like it was, let me look at this opportunity that I'm being extended. Is this going to help me in my career progression? Am I interested in the work? Does everything align, whether it's Google or company over here that you've not heard of, whatever. Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. Okay. When you got out of law school, did you plan on becoming an in house lawyer? Was that the goal?
So the goal was that I wanted to be, it was pretty broad, like super successful business lawyer, right? Whatever I needed to do to be that. And when I when I started law school, I quickly learned that according to the roadmap, that existed for men, white men, that meant going straight to a big law firm, like being in the top 5% of your class, getting into a big law firm and working 80 hours a week and working your way up. And I was just like, that model's not going to work for me. For one thing, I'm not in the top 5% because I have a first and third grader who come first. And because I'm a single mom, with two little kids and they depend on me and I have to make sure that they grow up well. So I can't work 80 hours a week. So, okay, so let me go and be an in-house lawyer. That sounds like a 9 to 5. I can do that. But then they told me, well, the model is that you have to work at a firm first before you can become an in-house. Like they won't hire you straight out of law school. So I'm like, what am I supposed to do? So I did end up getting in an in-house role. Someone had kind of educated me, like, hey, there's some quasi-legal type positions, such as contract manager, that are adjacent to legal. You can get your foot in the door and then transfer over to legal. And I said, okay, I wish I had known that. That's kind of what I did. I started at Big Ten Network. There was one lawyer in the building who was their manager of contract administration. She brought me on as a contractor to help her with a project, and then she left and I moved into her role. So I was kind of like a lawyer manager of all of the contracts, but I negotiated the talent agreements at Big Ten and interpreted, and I negotiated marketing agreements. I was the liaison between Big Ten and Fox corporation legal because Big Ten was a subsidiary of Fox. So being able to kind of look at a title that didn't say attorney, but still they required an attorney for it was something, a piece of knowledge that I wish I had had from the beginning that I do give to young lawyers. Hey, look for the roles where they want you to be a lawyer, but it doesn't say lawyer. Yeah.
Okay, so Rhonda, let's talk about creating and working and being a mom and being a partner and all the things. How do
Mm-hmm.
you find time for all of the stuff that you do?
Yes. So I'm
You're
very
like, you
good
want the
at
real answer or the.
I'm very good at multitasking and prioritizing. I think a part of that has come from at one point I was a single parent in law school and so I had to get clarity around my priorities and put things in place to make sure they were met so things could run smoothly. So I have a lot of practice with it. And there are a lot of things I want to do and accomplish. I'm quite ambitious and very motivated. So that's helpful too. Like when you want to get something done, you're determined to get it done, you figure out a way to do it, right? Yeah. And I know, like on the podcast, we talk about this, like various tools to put in place. But one of the big things, what's most important to me? Like, what do I need to feel whole, to be happy and be my best self? Like, those things I cannot flex on. Okay. And so, what do I need to make sure I have those things? And then I make sure I have those things in place, right? Yeah.
Okay. So this is making me think of a book I read because I'm a huge reader. When I'm not podcasting, I'm stuck reading a book somewhere. I read the book Rest is Resistance. And in the book they gave like 45 examples of how people rest, right? It's like you can be intently listening to music, not just playing in the background, but like you're sitting down and you're listening to it. Or like
Mm-hmm.
the stuff that you think about, taking a nap, but it could also be a walk in the park. It could be whatever. What kind of things, if anything, that you want to share? What kind of things do you do to help you prioritize and kind of find that rest?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a big meditator. I think that's super important. And I think anybody who says, oh, I can't sit still and be quiet, yes, you can. They're all different types of ways to meditate. Even if you just sit for 10 minutes and you think about something that makes you happy, right? If you can't just sit in quiet and stillness in your mind, if playing with your dog makes you happy, or if thinking back to that 10th birthday party, yeah, you can be 40, whatever I am, and think back to something that happened to you at 10 and just kind of revel in that feeling of comfort and happiness. I think that's a good way to start meditation and then you progress, right? Pilates, like exercising. So I'm into Pilates now. I enjoy that. It's a challenge. I challenge my body. It's time just for me. I put it on the calendar at least once a week, maybe twice a week. And I can feel the difference when I don't take that time to meditate regularly or work out and it doesn't feel good. I can sometimes feel myself because I have so many things going on becoming a bit unbalanced or untethered, and that doesn't feel good. And so I have to anchor myself in that spiritual, meditative part of my life. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of meditating as well. I don't think I realized I was meditating for a while, which sounds
Mm-hmm.
crazy. So I've been reading books about how meditation works and how to like find your center and how to just like find time. But
Mm-hmm.
I have a 4 year old, I have a spouse, and so I used to try to stay up late and get everything done. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to work in my bed. I don't want to go to my office after she goes to sleep. I want to go to sleep. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, Kyla, just get up 30 minutes early and then 45 minutes early. And some days I would have stuff to do, and some days I would just stare out the window and watch the sunrise. And
Mm-hmm.
then I was like, I just did that for 45 minutes. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've been meditating. But for
Yes.
me, I had to like work into it in a weird way. I didn't sit down and say, you're
Mm-hmm.
meditating, here you go. But now I
Exactly.
do crave it. And I actually do have to set a timer because I'll be there for 2 hours.
Yes, yes. It's very, very comforting, very freeing. You kind of get in touch with parts of yourself. It's a muscle that you're strengthening just like your physical muscles, that intuition, that kind of just being in touch with yourself. It's the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Yeah, I love it. I find that I'm more patient throughout the day if I've had my time by myself. It used to be very fight or flight. You wake up and you're running. Who needs what? Who's going where? Who's doing this? And
Mm-hmm.
now it's like, I haven't even had coffee yet, but I'm calm. I'm like, oh no, I'm up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
no matter who's waking up early, it's like, I've already had my time. It's great. It's probably prioritizing myself, which allows me to then give to others throughout the day. So
Yes,
it's pretty
exactly.
cool. It's pretty cool. I want to get into Pilates, so I'll make sure I follow up and let you know once I do.
Yes. And I like Pilates on the reformer. So it's like I have a big machine or toy, to distract me from the pain.
Yes. Okay, so Rhonda, I have one last question for you, and I ask this question of every guest. What would you say to law students or young lawyers, 5 years practicing or less, about what they
hmm
can do with their law degrees?
Okay, I think you can do whatever you want to do. I think it's important to regularly kind of assess what that is because it changes. I'm a big proponent of coaching, getting an executive coach to help you obtain clarity around what your goals are, what you want to do, and what's important to you. So you don't get swept up in the chaos and the expectations and other people's notions of success. So you can do whatever you want, but the key is really knowing what that is or sticking to what it is you want to do once you figure out what it is, no matter what anybody else thinks.
Yeah. Okay. So, for everyone that's listening, if you would like to get in contact with Rhonda Coleman, I will have all of her contact information in the episode notes. And listen, go to YouTube and watch because she's wearing this beautiful pink blouse and she works for Big Ten and now works for Google. You can still be whoever you are and work in
Yeah.
these spaces. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so
Yes.
much, Kyla. This was fun.
Yes, of course. I will talk to you later.
Bye
Bye.
bye.